Welcome to the Evening Gamer. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Guy.
Where do you start your first podcast episode?
We're about to start it. Episode 1.
That's not something anyone ever really talks about.
It's not. It's a bit daunting. You don't really know what you're going to say. I'm sort of, we've done a bit of prep work, but we'll see how this goes.
I reckon a perfect place to start is kind of how we want to, dear listener, structure these episodes, I suppose.
Makes sense to me.
So, if you listen to our intro, you know we're all gaming. We're all about gaming across the board. We're kind of going to structure our episodes where myself and Guy are going to review a game each week.
Yeah,
it can be whatever
game each week. Yeah,
makes game
sense.
each week can be whatever game. Can be RPG, so role-playing game, or FPS, whatever it might be. We're going to give our honest review and recommendations and talk about what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah, it might be the game we're playing at the moment. It might be a game from a bit of a backlog, but it'll be gaming.
Nice, yeah. And then to wrap up every episode every week, we've also got an idea of draw a question from a hat.
Little hat game questionnaire.
Little hat game teaser where we've both kind of written questions down, which is obviously relevant to gaming. We're going to draw each other's questions out of a hat and fucking give a spiel on it, mate.
Sounds good to me. Now, do you want to go first with your review, or do you want me to go first
this week? I'm happy to go first this week because I'm covering off what I seem to think it was a very interestingly timed RPG to be dropped that had a lot of mixed reviews that I was super excited for, and it's Hogwarts Legacy.
It's a good one because we've both played it, so I can sort of throw an opinion in here and there.
I definitely played it, mate. I think you gave up on it.
I finished it. I finished it.
But I can certainly talk to it from start to finish. So, a little bit about it. Obviously, it's about the Wizarding World if you follow Harry Potter. But the interesting thing that I found first off, and I want to make clear, is that you don't actually play as Harry. There's a fresh story, there's fresh protagonists, there's fresh quests and enemies. However, it does kind of keep the original school and the general layout of the Hogwarts area, which is perfect for me in terms of maintaining the nostalgia. Because remember, this is a game that's kind of gone the opposite direction of Last of Us. This is a game that has a huge movie trilogy and more base, all the books. Its fandom really comes from its cinematic experience. So it's gone the opposite way. Now, when you start playing, you're actually introduced to a professor who's escorting you to the school. After a few cutscenes, basic gameplay, you're introduced to Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, the classes, and your assorted house common rooms. Now, the thing I loved about this is it gives a perfect taste of open world RPG without being too overwhelming. So it makes it a perfect introduction for new and experienced gamers. Hogwarts Legacy possesses, in my opinion, great interaction with the Wizarding World, as well as all the benefits that come with it, whether you're a wizard or a witch, such as flying your broom, making potions, using spells, interacting with the beasts and the Forbidden Forests, all of these types of things. One thing I liked as well is you do actually get the opportunity to control a little bit about what house you're sorted in. So you do have a session with the sorting hat. But things that could have been better.
I was going to ask that question. I was curious on that.
You aren't able to play Quidditch, and you can't freely go within the lake outside of Hogwarts. You interact with it on some level, but there's no real swimming component. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll know from the Goblet of Fire that there's a huge magical world below that river. And I was pretty disappointed the fact that it didn't have that interaction, because if you think about all of the top games of the year, right? They all like if you take a perfect franchise, for example, would be Zelda, right? Like Breath of the Wild probably opened the doors for what I'm about to say hugely. Is having different areas that the player needs to adapt to, where they can access different loot, resources, and bosses, which I think is where this game fell short for me.
I think you're on the money with that. I think for me, this was like a taste tester of what could it be, what it could become, and I think if we're looking at sort of the minor cut wounds, yes, okay, not having, sort of the wizarding sort of competition, whatever the fuck it's called, or,
the Tri-Wizard thing,
yeah, or going into the lake, like, those things. I think at its base level, it hit the right notes. It was nostalgic. It felt like Harry Potter. It didn't interact with any of the movies. I think any Harry Potter fan could play that game and be satisfied with it. I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. I think they put in the stadium there, as in there might be a DLC where they open that up. I think it's really challenging as well to go from what is a first-person one to then move to a much more fluid movement, flying kind of 360-degree. Like, I think the coding on that would be quite challenging. But, plenty of games have made that kind of pivot and made it work really well.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. Like, there's been a lot of, especially in the RPG genre, a lot of games lately that do too much and don't do it well, rather than just kind of stick to less is more and fucking nail it. Like, an example for me, which we can talk about in another episode, that fell short on trying to do more than they could, was Lords of the Fallen. It's like you play that game, you're like, oh man, if you cut back 20% of this game and just nailed what you had out there,
it would have been good. Yeah,
so
right.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's sort of somewhere in between, this game. It's sort of, it went deep in some sections and sort of hit the right notes, but I don't know, I just sort of playing it at the end, I was sort of left not with it hitting all the notes. And I think that was always the challenge with games like this, where it's Harry Potter. Like, everybody knows it. Everybody had high expectations coming into it for what it was going to be. It had some great sort of cinematic moments. I remember sitting down the first time I played it, and that sort of walking along the cliffs kind of thing, kind of really hooked me. I was sort of keen for it. And I think it was good the way the spells unfolded, and you had a desire to go back and do some of the additional math calculations to open a fucking door and shit like that.
Find the keys and get the better loot for your house and stuff like that. Love that. But I'm certainly not taking anything away from the game. I think you're right. I think that they knew... This is actually what I liked about it. I think they knew what game they were producing. Like, you think of like the Souls genre. They know they're producing games for super advanced gamers. Whereas Hogwarts Legacy for me was like I gifted it to my younger sister who only plays Switch, because I know it's something that she can get on board with. It's not too complicated. She's going to have a hell of a time. So I think you're right. I think that maybe the less is more thing served them, because they could nail it. It was easy to consume and digest and put out there.
Yeah. I think one thing it did fantastic that probably doesn't get enough credit for is the spell system. I think the way in which they flow together, you could freeze them, then bomb them and flow them up in the air, pull them, push them, like a group of them, all of that was really well thought out, really well delivered.
Yeah, there were spells in there you would not have encountered in the books. Not because they didn't exist in the fantasy world of kind of Harry Potter and Hogwarts, but just because... there's a handful of spells that are in the movies and in the books. So yeah, I totally agree. And I think also...
Here's a question for you on the game.
Yeah.
Do you remember the story of this game?
I do remember the story.
Like, because I think as we go along with this podcast, I think, if we're playing RPGs and this sort of stuff, a really good measure is, do you actually remember the story? Do you remember how it ends? Because honestly, for me, having played that game, I have a vague memory of sort of these old headmasts up on a board, and you sort of have to go to different areas, and there's a bad goblin guy, and you've got some weird magic. Like, I'm kind of reminiscing as I'm going through it, but I really, there's certain games where like you come out of it and you go, I know what that game was about. I know all the key moments. I was left satisfied. Unfortunately in this game, I wasn't left satisfied.
Well, yeah, no, great point. Like, and if you put this game close to or next to something that has the character development and the inertia almost of Red Dead Redemption 2. It's nowhere near. Yeah, definitely. Like, I thought that the character development, particularly in this game, is rather vanilla. I think actually the NPCs that you actually kind of come into contact with have far more development. Like, I don't know how much you played, but you come into contact with another student called Sebastian, who's kind of going down the Thomas Riddle route of it all. And it kind of gives you choices throughout, which I liked. But in terms of your own character development and where the story goes, look, to be honest, when I finished the last level, when I got through the last boss, it wasn't because I was like, I want to find out what happens. Like, it's fucking Harry Potter. It's the same thing. He's saving the world through a secret society, from the latest evil out there. So it's how creative can they get with it?
I think you're on the money with that, of the NPC elements of it. It's like, okay, we've mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a whole, pantheon of characters there. You kind of get to know them over the course of the game. You think about Hogwarts Legacy and you go, okay, there's a couple of teachers in there. I think, like, I can't really, you go look at the movies. You got McGonagall, Snape. I mean, we might have watched the movie a fair few times and know the characters, but in this, it was like, none of these characters really stood out to me. You could replace the potions with this teacher, that teacher. They all just were like, non-events. Yeah,
the game doesn't let you really resonate too full on with a lot of the influencing characters for the role that you're actually playing.
Yeah, I mean I remember the headmaster, him being a bit of a dick.
I don't. That's the thing. I fucking don't.
Yeah, there you go.
But you can't blame him for that. You don't want to walk into a game, where the movies came out over a decade ago and it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, 100%. So are we going to rate these games as we go through them? Are we going to do a 0 to 10 ratio on this?
I mean, I don't think we make kind of a strict rating system like 1 to 10, right? Because like, you know, I always say this with movies. This is why I don't trust IMDb anymore. It's because like you can't put the latest horror film next to Citizen Kane and give them both a rating out of 10. You know what I mean? Like one has far more potential to be better than the other. You need to rate it on its merits. So I'm not going to give a 1 out of 10.
I hear you on that. I might disagree on the sense of like everyone's got their taste and their preferences, even with gaming, the RPGs, first-person shooters, top-down, whatever you want to that you enjoy spending your time with. But I think there's still the elements of the follow-through. The same with cinema of like, is it quality? Is it good? You know, is the gameplay tight? Is the controls tight? Is the story good? The characters good? The development as it goes on? I think you'd be fair to say it, but let's instead of doing a 0 to 10, because we're sort of putting each other on the spot.
Well, now you've maybe turned me around to the 0 to 10. Like you've got a good fucking point. Like
so, well, let's phrase it like this: should our listeners spend their time playing this game, or do you reckon there's another game out there that you'd rather them play?
I would say this: if you've played things like any of the latest Assassin's Creeds and enjoyed them, if you've played an adventure game that was relatively simple to get across, I would definitely recommend this. In terms of a rating system out of 1 to 10, I'd give this like a 6.8.
All right,
somewhere around the hallmark. That's like you're not going to regret downloading this game by any means. But if you're expecting your socks to be blown off, like a Red Dead Redemption 2 or a GTA 5 or like a Dark Souls 3, it's not going to happen.
I'd agree with you. You know, if you're an open world gamer and you've kind of played through a bit of them and that one isn't one that you've done yet, it's worth a bit of time. I'd agree on that.
100%.
All right, shall we move to my game?
Let's talk about yours, mate. What you got for me?
So my game's Returnal on PS5 exclusive. This game is a bit of a change from the sort of previous games that this company's put out. But this game, I went into it, no idea what I was going into. You know, I don't even know how I came across it. I think sort of somebody recommended it somewhere along the way. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a crack. This game put its hooks into me straight away. I was hooked from the moment my character landed on this planet. You play this female character, you crash land on a planet, and you're basically just trying to fight your way out of it, really. And the gameplay is so tight. The controls are so quick and fluid. It's the kind of game that you could put like a electronic dance music into your ears for and just vibe the fuck out as you go through this game. And the story, phenomenal. You know, I was so interested to see the twists and turns. It was creepy. I remember playing it, all the lights off, and in certain parts getting that like, man, what's going on here? Like this is a bit gnarly. It's like a horror movie kind of thing. And the deeper I went into this game, the more I was enjoying it. I 100%ed it. I found all the little fucking nooks and crannies, the glyphs. I've still got it on my PS5.
That's one thing I'm going to come back to is that it's. I think it's a Sony
exclusive.
Yeah. Let's come back to that. But where's it kind of set? Because I know, as an Xbox gamer, I've never played this. You've shown me at your house, and I agree. The fluidity of it wasn't that actually difficult to pick up.
You can pick that up easy. Yeah,
flowed very similarly to other games, especially movement games like Sekiro that I've played.
Yes,
so it wasn't too hard to pick up. But where's it set? From my understanding, this is like post-apocalyptic. Like, what's the environment like? What do you walk?
So it's futuristic. So it's not sort of really post-apocalyptic. Like you're on an alien planet and there's fucking aliens on it, and your character, you basically run it through. And every time you die, you start again. You go back to your ship and you do another run. So it's a roguelike, but a roguelike, when I think of roguelikes, I think of sort of, almost like, what's that game? I mean, there's plenty of them out there. Hades is what I'm thinking of, where, you die, you start again, but it's a bit of a top-down thing, whereas this one's like over the shoulder, reminds me of kind of Gears of War kind of, but a little bit further back than that. And yeah, you just run through these environments and the story unfolds, and you basically are going deeper into this planet in a way.
It's kind of like, what was it, Outriders? What was that? It's kind of like Outriders done
well. Yeah, that kind of over-the-shoulder kind of vibe about it.
Would you consider yourself an aggro gamer? Because I think I've played... The only thing that comes close to me for games like this in terms of the how impactful it is when you die is like, for example, Elden Ring, because I know a lot of the game bases played Elden Ring. It's like you die, you drop the most important loot at your spot of death, and you have to make your way back to it. And occasionally you do not. But my understanding of Returnal... Is that when you fucking die? You go back to the beginning of that
The very beginning, the very start of it with almost nothing. Like you get a few little upgrades that carry over, but you go back with nothing. And for me, like, am I an aggro gamer? Like when I was a kid and I played fucking Mortal Kombat and I lost to a mate, sure, I'd want to break that control at that point. But then you grow up and you sort of control your anger. But this one, fuck, it tested me. It tested me. You're on a good run. You got lots of health. You enter into this room and you get pied. And it's like you're white knuckling your controller. And I remember just like turning off the PS5 and like walking out of there just going, I'm done with this game. But then I'd think about it, you know, and the gameplay would bring me back. I'd be like, I want to finish. It's like the Elden Ring thing. Like it's a point of pride. Like did the game defeat you or did you defeat it? Are you
it's
smarter
like you got that
than
on your achievement list.
Exactly.
If you platinum that game on PS, that's decent.
Yeah, not a lot of gamers do that.
But
you know,
like
and
for me,
yeah.
do you think that model, do you think that turns gamers off nowadays? Like, do you think that they've kind of tried to narrow in on a niche player base there? Because for me, like, I just played, perfect examples, Lies of Pies recently. There were a couple of real hard bosses on there, man. And sometimes it was frustrating enough just trying to get past that boss, let alone going back to the beginning of the game.
I think roguelikes are a natural development of the gaming industry. I mean, Demon Souls and all those, that whole Souls-like genre, you know, this is taking a little bit of that. But what is so smart about it is you combine it with the randomly generated maps. Your game goes from with what is a Hogwarts, you do it once and you're done, to this game being the replayability is there, and it then sort of the value of the game increases with it. You know, it's smart.
Well, there you go, folks. Know what you're getting into before you play Returnal. Go on, let's do this loose rating system that we've kind of decided.
All right.
Sell it to me.
I remember the ending. I remember all the boss battles. I remember every part about it. I've played it through once, but I did play the DLC a fair bit. So like this one's a high number for me. I'd put it in the bracket of a 9.5.
Wow.
It is. I know this is the first episode, so it's only really downhill from here. It is a perfect game, and I cannot stress that enough. If you want to pick it up and give it a go, I 100% recommend it.
Love that. If I had a PS or I was still gaming M&K, I'd play that based off the back of that review. Can I not air out dirty laundry here, but speak about something we briefly mentioned? Was this bullshit gamers getting caught between the pissing contest of these different companies, Sony, Microsoft, whatever it might be. It is, to me, just still bonkers. The gaming is as big as it is today, and we can still sit here, and there's no way for me to access that game because I'm a Microsoft player, I'm an Xbox player. Why? Like, I've considered going out and getting a PS5 as well, but my gaming scores on my Xbox, my friend list on my Xbox, it's set up to my gaming monitor.
I hear you 100%. You know, and like,
why the fuck are we still in this situation where Sony's paying ludicrous amounts of money to gaming companies to do an exclusive for? It's to me.
I know. I mean, it's the way the industry has sort of ended up. I mean, you know, we're probably maybe don't even know enough to really sort of go too deep into it. But I hear what you're saying on a face value. Going, look, these games, they should be playable on both. It'd be fantastic if they are, and they get to a wider audience is the main thing. But you know, I mean, to be speaking honestly, like I bought the PS3 purely for God of War. I played God of War as a kid back in the day, loved it, and was like, they've redone it. It looks flash as fuck. Yeah, okay, I'll spend an additional $600 or whatever it was just to play that one game. And that's what they want. You know, and then I reckon from here on out, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, you know, Uncharted. Like, I went back through all the PS5 ones that I hadn't played, and I got my value for money, you know. So now I've got my Xbox for sort of the ones we play together and a few other sort of things. And Xbox seems to be pivoting hard to a lot more of the kind of indie sort of crowd at the moment, whereas the PS5 is really honing in or, you know, Sony on a story-driven RPG heavy, like, you know, sort of, what's that other one that recently came out where you're a ninja? But yeah, geez, I mean, their back catalogue is fantastic.
Oh, and Ghost of Tsushima?
Oh, mate.
Whatever it was called?
Oh, mate.
I'm so annoyed that's not on Xbox. I'm definitely getting the name wrong. Wait for corrections.
Ghost of Tsushima with a T? I probably butchered that too.
Yeah. Okay, well, 9.5 is a high rating, mate. You're essentially saying at a 9.5, you're going to recommend this to everyone that you come across.
It is in my top 10 games of all time.
You and I know there's different types of gamers. So, like, who's this for? Why should they play it?
I mean, it's for the Souls-like kind of person who's played all the Souls-like, you know, who want a bit of a different challenge. They like looter kind of shooters, you know, and keen for something a little bit off the beating path. You know, it's not I don't think everybody's heard of this game. You know, when you talk about what are the games you should play on the PS5, this one is not one of the top ones listed. I think it's probably on the second page over of the games you should play on this one. But for me, it ticked all my boxes.
Nice one. Love that. Well, Okay, should we do
question
from our
time?
heart,
Let's
mate?
do it.
Like,
Question time.
all right, who wants? Okay, well, I went first review-wise, so
Okay,
I think
alright.
you're picking out a question.
All right, I'll go first. Here
So
we go.
I've written Guy 3 questions, and he's going to pick them out of a hat, and I'm going to do the same.
Favorite GTA?
Oh.
Whew, this is a tough one.
To be fair,
This
out
is
of
a
the
tough one.
questions I had in the hat, I was actually hoping.
No, it's a
we
great
got to
one.
play by the rules, though. We got to play by the rules.
This is fantastic. Okay, so my experience with GTA, played them all, going back, played them all. I think I didn't do the Ballad of Gay Tony, some of these DLCs. I think I entered into it when it was sort of Liberty City, GTA 3. So 1 and 2,
era.
1 and 2 is sort of top-down stuff. Not a lot of people kind of played those ones. They really changed it up with GTA 3. Liberty City, that one was just fantastic. I remember driving over that bridge a million times, getting the tank, all the rest of it. I was far too young to be playing that game. I don't know how my parents let me do it.
Did you ever trying to jump the bridge in GTA 3? Did you ever try and do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all did.
And then it was the fucking... Remember, that was the Cessna plane that you had to
yes,
bunny hop in the air?
God.
And it recorded how far you got me.
Far out.
Man, that is pure nostalgia right there.
You remember back the cheats, and the up, down, left, rights and all the rest of it. Like, my goodness. But no, that one definitely isn't the top one. So what? Then we go to GTA 4, Nico Bellic, and it's sort of like New York, a lot more New York kind of based view. And I remember the sort of game's gravity kind of was way ahead of its time. The way the bodies flopped and everything else. I remember the controls being a little bit junky, but that one was good. I liked it. Then we get to GTA 5, I think, was after that. And then we got the 3 characters, Trevor, all the rest of them. And I think this has been well documented. You see it on YouTube clips all the time of what they put into that game. What you were able with the gig space that you've got of a game, the level of detail they went to.
I mean, one of them went on to have
mind-blowing.
an acting career.
Yeah.
That's how big the opportunity was with that game. That's the net that it was able to cast.
Yeah, I mean, that character was phenomenal. I mean, talking about characters before, the 3 front men, the other characters, his family, it's
the guy who plays Trevor, I remember at the time I was playing GTA 5, I was getting across The Walking Dead. I was getting into it.
Yes.
And towards
he's in that.
Because it's season 4 or season 5. There's a guy who just starts yelling at something from Rick across the street. I'm like... That's Trevor. Because he's drawn in the game.
Are we doing him a disservice by saying GTA 5 made him big? I mean, it definitely elevated his status. That's undeniable. I mean, I'm sure he's had an acting career before that, but, I hear what you're saying.
I don't even know the only name I can attribute to him is Trevor. So,
but it's got to be GTA 5 for me. There's no doubt. But I mean, Rockstar, it is the company. That's GTA 6. The trailer for that was such a mega YouTube view click kind of thing for a reason. Florida, 100%. It looks phenomenal.
I mean, Rockstar's built their following on nothing but
quality.
Yeah, that's it. I was struggling for the word, but yeah,
they don't put out a game that's bad. And I mean, I've been playing that games for a while. I played the Warriors back in the day on PS2. That game was fucking good too.
Think of Bully, Kindness Came on the PS2.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many games that you could really pin up and say, when have they put a foot wrong? To my mind, I can't think of one. Sort of thinking of Rockstar or Rocksteady. I mean, they've just put out Justice League, and that's been apparently a big pile of shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, and they did all the Batman games a little while ago, and they were phenomenal games.
Yeah, I heard good things about the Batman.
They were very good games. Question for you, mate.
Do we both answer this question?
Okay. Yeah. All right. We can both do it. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, how do we want to do this?
How much time we got in this? I mean,
endless, mate.
You want it, you do it. You do it.
As long as these dear listeners will stay around. I would say Vice City.
Wow, how did I? I forgot. I skipped it, didn't I?
You kind of did because the one that. So when I think of old GTA games, I always go to GTA 3 Liberty City as well because I think that actually brought into gaming the weapon wheel. Do you know that? I think Rockstar actually invented the weapon wheel with the D-pad.
Shit.
Don't hold me to that. That might be another corrections corner, but I'm pretty sure that was
sounds right to me. I'll take that one.
That was definitely my first interaction with it. But Vice City, I remember, it was during the PSP time of gaming as well.
Yeah.
So I could go from my PS2, PS3 to my PSP. And I remember that I think that the graphics, the storyline, and just the natural development of Vice City really laid the groundwork for what GTA is today. In Vice City, it really became the hard storyline, big character development, all about the drugs and the gangster shit back in Vice City.
I don't know how I forgot it. I mean, I remember playing that helicopter RC game.
Yeah.
Man, that killed me. How many goes did that take? That was Elden Ring before Elden Ring. That shit was hard.
All right, my turn, eh?
Oh, yeah,
see
let's
what
do
you
it.
got for me. I'm not going to go the top one. I'm going to go one a bit further down. Let's see. Best wow moment. How do I do this without giving a spoiler?
I feel like my questions are really like vanilla, and you've done
wow moment. Oh, I mean, there's so many different moments in gaming. Sometimes there's like when I played, for example, what did I just finish? Wolong. There were some wow moments in that, but mainly because of the cutscenes. You know, you're almost watching an anime, but that to me isn't a wow moment for a gamer. A wow moment is like you know what it was? It was actually for me in Red Dead Redemption 2, not knowing where Arthur Morgan's story was going and the anxiety that they were able to build right into the end of that game. I think when your suspicions finally are come to fruition and you were right about it the whole time, that was definitely a wow moment, because I think, especially when you're making that last horse ride trip with Arthur, when he's going back to sort out what's been going on, to get the loot for the girls, he's got the black lung, and just how they did that final... I've got it recorded still in my DVR, mate. It goes for like 3 or 4 minutes. And you're riding, and it's super emotional. And there's snippets from the game coming back into Arthur's head. Like, one that sticks out to me is when... what was the boss's name? Dutch?
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that
when
sounds
Dutch says, "We are not criminals. We are outlaws." It's like it would just that entire horse ride back, and the character development of Arthur, and when his demise becomes reality and you don't know where the game goes next. I think that was my biggest wow moment.
Mate, I think you're on the money with that. I mean, for me, there were so many wow moments in Red Dead Redemption 2. I loved I think one thing they really just nailed was the riding along and hearing some scream in these marshes and woods, and you're like, I got to investigate that. You go in there's some ladies like kind of semi-strung up or hog-tied or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to cut her loose. Then a bunch of fucking creeps jump out and jump you and steal your shit. Like, they were wow moments, and they were sort of almost randomly generated kind of story beats that would just occur as you roamed the thing, and you chat to your friends and be like, have you experienced this? And they'll be like, what the fuck is that? I've never come across that shit in that game.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fantastic.
We could talk about Red Dead for an entire...
We really could. I mean, we've spoken about it a fair
might,
bit, yeah. We can't do an episode reviewing that one now. Yeah,
no, the wow moment's a good one. If I had longer to think on that question, look, it might be something else. There's another number of games that pop into head that definitely have them, but on the spot, definitely.
Yeah, no,
Red
fair.
Dead Redemption 2, that
we don't know these questions are coming, so sort of it's fresh off the top of your head. So my answer to that question would be, and it's a bit of an off Broadway again, and unfortunately PS5 exclusive, is Days Gone. So this was a motorcycle free roaming kind of game that was did kind of have vibes of this sort of undead. What was the TV show The Walking Dead? Kind of like that, but it's a lot of motorbike kind of based as you sort of traverse, but fantastic sneaking. Anyway, what was the wow moment in it was, excuse me, when you came across the swarms. So this game perfected an open world swarm of zombies coming at you. Yeah. And the first time you come across that...
Do you remember Left 4 Dead?
Oh, yeah.
And it builds up that fucking run mentality, anxiety, and you have to stand and fight. I love that.
100%. I mean, so the Left 4 Dead was fantastic in the sort of that first person tight shooting. I haven't done Back 4 Blood. I mean, I don't know if we should, but this one was more like you're on a motorbike, you're throwing Molotov cocktails over your thing, and they're just relentless, and you're scrambling like crazy, and you'd go into these dark caves to try and find good loot or whatever, and there'd just be like a fucking 200 of these dudes just standing there staring at you, and your skin, you're just like, shit.
And there's so many games that have tried to do that, and so many of them haven't been able to do it.
Nah, yeah, it's tough.
There's
but
so
they
many
did it
zombie
well.
games, bro, and like there's only a few that I can name that I would recommend.
Yeah, agreed. So is it my turn on next question?
Do we do more questions, or is it just one a week?
What's our time at?
I don't know. I don't know GarageBand that well.
All right, well let's stick it with
Let's do one more from your hat.
And then we'll
let's
call
both
it.
answer it.
Okay.
And then we'll do
final
let's
do that. Yeah, I agree on that. So hardest boss, why? Hardest boss, why?
Oh man.
I mean,
do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, like it's got to be Elden Ring for me.
I think I know, can I guess who you're gonna say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Are you gonna say Millennia Blade?
Yeah, it fucking was.
Yep, I think a lot of people would say that.
You know what was the most aggravating thing about that fight was it took me hours. It took me days to win that fight. I was so frustrated. No matter, I cheated. I fucking Googled it to go, what's the move set? No, I didn't.
No, that's not cheating. No, that's not cheating.
I mean, I feel like cheating is where you kind of, I didn't learn the moves off by heart myself with a lot of the other bosses. This one, she just kept getting under my skin. And I remember chatting to a mate of mine who was playing at the same time, and I said to him how hard I was struggling with this fight. And he told me he did it in his second attempt. And I called bullshit. Shit. I was like absolutely offended that this person had been able to do it in like 2-3 attempts or some shit. I was like, and I really grilled him about it. And like, he's not a guy who usually fabricates this kind of stuff. And he looked me in the eye. He said, "No, 2 attempts, man. I knocked it out." He used his clone fella. They had I think they were using a blood loss sword or something, and I was an idiot.
Bleed.
Bleed. I was going in there with some giant fuck off sword, doing some forward somersault, trying to absolutely like hammer her to the ground, and it was a dumb move set. It's not a fast move set, and it was just it was.
But also,
stupid.
this is what I like about those Souls games is that it's very possible that he just had the perfect build for that boss. Like for me, and I got no qualms in admitting this or any shame towards it at all. I reckon a Millennia took me 80 plus goes.
Yeah, probably ballpark.
And you know what it was is that because I was so set on my build and I'm like, I'm not respecing. I found a really fun, good, well-flowing way to play this game in my current build, and it was a high. I've got motivity from Liza P in my head, but it was dexterity. I had a dexterity build, which is high movement.
Yeah.
You don't use a shield. I used mainly 2 scimitars, as you said, with bleed, but it was very upfront, close combat. So with that build, I really struggled against her.
Man, I respect, and it didn't help me. I still got pied. Like, I was just, it was one of those fights. And I think for me, what it was the coin drop moment for me was, and even reading this, I still couldn't nail it. I am such a forward fighter and on the front foot that the concept of like ducking backwards just defeated me, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Just goes against what.
Any game I'm throwing myself head first in. I want to be first through the door, And in this one, it was like, if you want to dodge a fight, fucking roll backwards. It was like, what, I know it's dumb, but that was my problem.
Yeah. No, that's a great one. And to be honest, that's how I would answer this question. But I'm going to pivot for you, and I'm going to go way back.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to go way back, PS2 days. 12-year-old Taylor, Kingdom Hearts. Mate, and I don't look. If I was to go back now on PS2, maybe with how much more we play games, what we've been exposed to.
You think you'd nail it now?
Maybe I would. I don't know. But the final boss in Kingdom Hearts was a boss that had a huge surface area. It was like you were in space. So in Kingdom Hearts, you can make your own spaceship and fly around between different cartoon planets. Essentially, right?
It was like almost like a Lego set of kind of pieces and shit.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you essentially the biggest foe you have throughout is your shadow, but he wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
His final boss that covered a large surface area. You had to fight them mostly in your ship and fire around. You needed the right keyblade to do it. That is something I can honestly actually say I still haven't finished that.
I'm like reminiscing. I remember playing that game and like I'm now picturing that boss. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't actually beaten that boss. For me, the surface area was too much.
I'm not even sure if I did, to be honest.
So I actually gave up on that.
I remember the shadow. I remember some of the like spooky little towns and stuff that you roll through in that.
Remember having to beat the Beast from Beast and Beauty. That was one of the harder ones as well. But the final one, I still haven't done it to this day.
Wow.
So
jeez, that is a throwback. That just goes to show our lineage of gaming through the years.
But Millennia, yeah, man, I'm right there with you. That was a tough one.
I mean, even that flying dude who had like a spine illuminated, I found easier. Like, and I don't know why. Like, he was easier.
But if you were to post on Reddit, what the hardest boss is, there'd be other people out there that would say it's definitely not Millennia because they might have just stumbled across her at the right time with the right build.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear, if you've played that game, if you're one of those people who nailed it in a couple without fucking reading it, and went in fresh as a daisy,
let
then
us know.
More power to you. More power.
But also let us know. Email info@theeveninggamer.com.au.
There we go. We got an email address now.
I want to call your bullshit on that.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, final thoughts. I think we're both advocates for the games we reviewed today. Hogwarts Legacy, definitely worth a go.
I think we are.
We've done Returnal, Sony Exclusive.
Yeah.
Good to go. Hope you enjoyed the reviews.
In the next few podcasts, we'll sort of maybe I'll go for a bit more of a newer game, I feel like, maybe in the next one. We got to chat about Remnant 2 as well.
We definitely do, and we definitely will. But for now, don't be haters and wiggle those thumbs.
Thanks for listening, guys.